Alright, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our, not our, on our vlog. Whoops, my bad. I got the series wrong again. Yesterday we did hunting and fishing, and we did some commissions and of what. Today should be pretty easy. Okay, got maintenance and bathroom is the first thing we do once we get back to HQ, and then we will find the goat and do I suppose the wooden electricity thing. There was like a metal pipe, but it's gone now. One of those, and then you could also upgrade to 20 kgs from the water. Still functions the same. Well, welcome back. So we've been silent for like the entire time. Basically, it's like the first time I'm talking. Now, yeah, we've basically been silent the entire time. It was, yeah, nothing to say except we are like on 5 fives, I think. There's nothing to really talk about, to be honest. I think it's because yesterday we did most of the talking yesterday when we watched those YouTube videos. But there's just nothing to say right now. And when it comes to like Geno Crisis, we're chilling. Everything seems kind of chill. I don't know. There's just nothing to say. Nah, today's just a silent day. There's just nothing to talk about. Plus, we actually need to sleep really. I don't know. I didn't even sleep really last night. I thought I did, but still wasn't enough. But it was actually like pretty good golden hour today as well. There's just nothing to talk about, and I'm gonna have to do a story video today. There's just nothing to talk about. Plus, sleepy. So that's what it is. It is. 70.65. 70.65. There's nothing else to say. There's just nothing to say today. It's just one of those quiet days. It's fine. Alright, thank you. Appreciate it again. So, just a quiet day today, right? I guess I'll give you guys a story video today. Well, I have to. Didn't say anything today. So yeah, see you guys next time, right? Appreciate it. Really, you're welcome to sleep or something.
Okay, we'll be good. Alright, guys, welcome. So, look at this. 3 true creepy stories that happened after dark. No ads? That's a W. Alright. How long is the first story? 20 minutes? Goodness gracious. Lock in. I didn't even talk this morning on their vlog. Let's go. From Let's Read. This guy's actually pretty good. His stories are long, but it's good.
Almost a decade ago, my boyfriend, now husband, ended up getting into a pretty serious car accident. And during his recovery, I had to pick up extra shifts wherever and whenever I could. And the only extra shifts available were night shifts at an alternate site that required a long drive. I didn't mind at all, and that's what made me think, wow, maybe I love this guy enough to start a family with him. But it was also on one of these nightly commutes that I went through the single most traumatic experience of my whole life.
So, boyfriend got into a car accident and you have to pick up some extra shifts. What you mean working at night? Is what it is. I mean, it kind of is what it is, but depends on the family and context. But if that was like, first of all, the man should have enough money enough so she doesn't have to work or take over shifts. And, you know, you have like your parents, right? Like your boyfriend should have parents. You should have parents. So your parents would end up giving funds to you while he recovers from the car crash instead of you working overnight shifts because that's just retarded. Like, are you that desperate for money? Are you that broke that you need to work extra night shifts to put yourself in danger, even though your boyfriend's already injured in a car crash? Doesn't mean you should really pick up extra shifts like that. Are you that desperate? Do you not have any savings? Just saying. I mean, it sounds like, oh yeah, let's get an extra shift to support him, right? But like, you should already had the foundation ready.
My route took me through some pretty desolate patches of Arizona, and
I imagine that.
although
I don't even have like, why would you even do that though? I mean, I get it, getting extra shifts, right? But like, still, it's like you're a female working overnight, driving long distance to get to the place. What? Just sit next to your boyfriend in hospital and let the parents, or like at least, you know, it's like, are you that desperate for money? You know what I mean? Like, you that desperate?
I'd climb into my driver's seat with the sun still above the horizon, it'd be full dark outside by about half hour or 45 minutes into the drive. Now, I hated driving at night, and even more so these days because it reminded me of this whole thing. But back then, I was kind of adjusting to the whole routine of grabbing a bucket-sized iced coffee and then listening to my morning playlist at the total opposite side of the day. But then, on this one particular journey, I remember the feeling of horror I felt when, on a particular desolate stretch of road, my engine started to seize up. I didn't know much about cars at the time, I still don't really, but I knew the sounds my car were making were not normal or healthy. Now, being the idiot I was, I didn't do anything but hope the issue would resolve itself, but it didn't. And I don't think that I made it more than a couple of miles further before I started to see either steam or smoke coming out from under the hood. I pulled over and turned off the engine, thinking that if I just left it a few minutes to cool down, I'd be able to start her up again and just keep driving. But when I turned my key in the ignition, the engine did nothing but turn over a few times before dying. I tried
Alright, lock the car and call for some help. Easy as that.
a few more times, hoping things would unscrew themselves in there somehow, but nothing worked. And then after letting out a stream of curse words that'd make a sailor blush, I called ahead to work and told them about my engine trouble.
Okay, hey, I'm not gonna make it, my car broken. Let me guess, the phone dies and you can't call for help.
Now, my boss wasn't happy, but he wasn't mad either. He just told me to take care of it, get to work whenever possible, and keep him updated on how things were going.
L-boss.
I hung up and was just about to call roadside assistance when I noticed a dark-colored van pull in ahead of me. I got this feeling of hope, thinking someone had pulled over to help out. And then when I saw the van back up so it was much closer and watched a guy climb out of his driver's seat, I felt this wave of relief and appreciation, thinking some good Samaritan was going to help me get to work on time. I opened up my car door just as the guy was fully
Are you that desperate to go to work?
by the headlights and saw a man in a dark jacket and beanie waving and smiling, all friendly. Arizona nights get cold as heck, so I didn't think it was unusual that he had his hat pulled down to his brow and was all bundled up against that cold. Now, the first thing I said was, "Thank you so much," to which he replied, "No problem," and then asked me if I was having engine trouble. I told him I was, and that his timing was nothing short of a miracle, as I was on my way to work and in a real jam. He made some joke about how cars always pick the worst times to give you trouble like that, and then after explaining that he was a mechanic, he asked me to pop my hood so he could take a look at the engine. Now, once he'd opened up the hood, I joined him in taking a look at that engine, but like I said, I had next to no idea what I was looking at. There was this moment of awkward silence, and so I introduced myself to the guy. Now, he said his name was Clay, and we shook hands, and then he went back to staring at my engine for a couple of seconds under the light of a little flash.
He's not looking at it, he's thinking about what to do next. He's thinking about what to do next. It's a female. What can you expect, right? I understand. Wouldn't you... Okay, you call your boss to be late, and then you don't call the roadside service because someone came to help. But... I wouldn't trust them. No. Especially if you're a female. Why would you trust... I wouldn't trust that, you know? You're a female...
Flashlight that he had before he said something about how things weren't looking good. When I asked him if he could fix it, or if it was better calling a tow truck, he told me to give him a minute, and then he went back to it for a minute or two before exclaiming, "Aha!" Now, I've never understood car speak, and I guess that was written all over my face too, because the more he talked about what the problem was, the more he got this smile on his face. He cut himself off at one point and asked if I understood what he was saying, to which I obviously said no, and then told him how it was usually my boyfriend who dealt with all the car stuff and I just drove the thing. Now, the guy laughed and said something about how his wife was the same way, but then instead of trying to break it down so I could understand him, he kept on using all of those super technical words. Now, I guess this might sound kind of hard to describe because how do you put a feeling into words? But the more the guy talked about what was wrong with my engine, the more I got this weird feeling that he was sort of making fun of me. I obviously didn't accuse the guy straight up. After all, I was still under the impression that he was doing me a favor, and figured that I was maybe just being paranoid. But then at one point, he used a word that in my head got me thinking, did he just make that up? Now, I let him carry on talking for another minute or so, watching as this big grin grew on his face, and then he used another word that was so on the nose silly that I had to be like, "Wait, are you making fun of me right now?" Now, the guy
Woman, right? Am I right? Woman.
who called himself Clay gave me this look like he was half hurt and half confused, as if to say, why the heck would I do that?
Woman.
And then right as I was about to apologize, he says, "Hey!" and then burst into laughter. He then admitted right to my face that the only reason he stopped was to, and I'm using his words here, mess with me. Now, I half expected him to sort of actually fix my engine once he was done playing his little prank, but he didn't.
Hold on.
He just
I drank a lot of water.
kept on laughing like duping me was the funniest thing in the world. And then I remember asking him, "So, are you even a mechanic, or?"
She's a
And he
stranger.
acted like that was a punchline to his whole joke. He took a few steps back, bent doubled over, and wheezed with laughter, and I had to stop myself from yelling about what an a-hole he was. I was mad as hell, like so angry I was practically shaking, because who the hell does something like this? But I was also aware that I was a 5'2", 100-pound woman, alone on a dark road with a guy that was clearly getting a lot of joy of screwing with me. And all that came out of my mouth was, "Dude." And then I cut myself off because I knew it was either that or insult the guy so badly that he'd get mad and actually turn on me. And then right as I pulled my phone out and I was about to dial 911 to report a breakdown and some a-hole harassing me, Clay spoke again, and he said something like, Okay, I'm not a mechanic. I admit it. I'm an artist."
Run.
Now that was the angriest I got with him because I'm thinking, dude, for real? What the hell is wrong with you? Now his laughter slowly petered out and he raised his hand with the palms flat like he was about to apologize for something. But he didn't say sorry. Far from it. He then says, For real, I'm an artist, I swear." And then he started telling me how he made pretty pictures, but not for a living, just for fun. And then I remember how he said, word for word, that he would make a pretty picture by blowing your brains out all over the blacktop.
Huh?
There was a shift right there. This horrible shift from him laughing and me being angry to me being terrified and him enjoying it in this sick, sadistic way. Because right as I looked at my phone to dial 911, the guy pulled a gun from the back of his waistband and pointed at me. "Ah, not so fast." He reached for my phone and...
That's why you don't just shut. Honestly, I kind of blame the woman. Not gonna lie. Just don't trust people, and it was too many moment he said he's an artist. Matter of fact, why are you even arguing with the guy? If he's like, GG.
Took it from my hand,
Got a
sort of
gun.
like, I'll take that. And I wanted to run, to scream, to do something, but I couldn't. The sight of that gun had me frozen to the spot like I'd suddenly turned to stone. It was cold out, really cold, and my brain was telling me, don't move a muscle, don't give him a reason. But still, the shakes started, and they got bad. When he said, "Keys," I was so shook up that all I could say was, "What?" And he went from amused to furious while shouting, "Keys! Where are they?" I stammered out that they were still in the ignition of my car, and then after telling me that I was dead if I moved, he took them from the ignition and tossed them into the darkness of the road. And if that sounded like the perfect time for me to run, it wasn't. He kept the gun trained on me almost the whole time.
GG.
If I tried to run, I'm 99% sure that I wouldn't be around to write this right now.
GG.
He must have seen it written all over my face, sort of like, why did you do that? My car is busted. Why would you toss my keys away like that? And seeing it, the big grin found its way to his face again, and he told me how in that kind of situation, it's better safe than sorry. I didn't say a word in reply. I couldn't, not even if I wanted to. As he slammed my car door closed again, he asked, "Who's going to miss you?" And at first I thought he meant sort of like the folks at work. Like if I didn't show up, who was going to notice? So, that's what I said. I told him the people
Yeah,
at
she's
work...
so fixed on her work. It's insane. Why did she even take a night shift? There's no...
would call the
I already
cops
said
if
that
I
in the
didn't show up, or at least call to tell them where I was. But that's not what he was asking. He was asking who would miss me if he killed me. I started to cry. I thought about my now husband recovering at home, wondering where I'd gone if no one found me, thinking that I'd sort of abandoned him because I couldn't handle taking care of him anymore. I've been picturing what it would be like spending the rest of my life with him, getting married, having kids, growing old together. So when Clay asked me the question, it was like my life flashed before my eyes. Only not just the life I had already lived, but the one he'd taken away from me if he pulled the trigger. I told Clay how my boyfriend would miss me and then started explaining how he'd been in an accident and how I'd been taking care of him and how he needed me. But Clay cut me off by yelling at me to shut up and how he wanted an answer, not my life story.
Fair enough.
I did as he told me, and then he says, "Who else?" And so I listed my family members, people at work, anyone I could think of. I kept thinking that
He's actually doing is he's asking if you got a child. That's what he's doing. He's asking who's gonna miss you. He's 100. Yeah. What's his name? Danny? What's his name again? He's asking if he's got kids. She's got kids. Who's gonna miss you? My newborn baby. I bet if you said something like my 3 children at home that are under 5 years old, he'll probably not pull the trigger, but you know what? Nah, you're good. But imagine it was like, who's gonna miss you? My cats? Boom! Dead.
Talking, I could buy myself enough time for someone to drive past us, notice what was going on, and call the cops.
No one's gonna know.
But it was like he knew no one was coming.
Yeah.
Because he took his sweet-ass time in pulling out a small notepad and a pen from his jacket pocket, keeping the gun on me the entire time. After he tossed them over to me, he told me to write down my goodbyes to the people who were going to miss me. I didn't. I didn't even touch the paper or pen he tossed down in front of me, not even when he yelled at me to kneel down, and I did. I figured that if I didn't go along with what he was telling me to do, he wouldn't kill me because his little plan wasn't complete. But all I could think to do to stall for time was beg him not to kill me. I tried focusing on the fact that my boyfriend needed me, that we couldn't afford at-home care, stuff like that. I told him he could take anything he wanted, and I meant anything he wanted, as long as he just let me live. I kept expecting him to yell.
Best way to survive that scenario? Shoot me. Do it. I'm not allowed to die. You can't kill me. That's how you survive that situation. You're not allowed to die. And guess what? Since you have your own, you create your own reality. You use Aikido. If he shoots you, you can't die. You're not allowed to die. So when he shot you, the bullets go into your body, but you use Aikido and the bullets fall out and you're invincible because you're not allowed to die in your reality. Like, sure, another reality, you're dead, he shot you, you're gone. But if you truly believe that you're in your own reality, you got that. You know, this is my reality, shoot me, I'm not gonna die, I am not allowed to die, my friend. Like, if you shoot, I'm just gonna, you did, don't do it. I'll get vengeance on you, you know? Please don't kill me, please. Shoot me. I'll exact revenge. Do it. And they'll question themselves about, wait, what? And then, yeah, that's how you survive that situation.
At me again, to tell me to shut up, but he didn't. He got this sick smile again, and he just sort of listened as I sobbed and begged and sobbed some more. He didn't say a word until I asked why he was doing what he was doing, at which point he just said, "I told you, I'm an artist." I don't know why I was expecting him to say anything that made sense. Nothing else did. And then as I'm kneeling there with tears in my eyes, he did that thing with his gun that made it go click before it's about to shoot. I don't know what it's called, maybe locking or loading or cocking it back, but I was so certain that he was about to shoot me that I just shut my eyes. I couldn't look, but I couldn't move either. I just remember sobbing with my eyes clamped shut while begging him not to do it. But all he'd say was, "Open your eyes! Open your effing eyes!" while calling me all these vile things I can't bring myself to repeat. Now, I tried that same tactic of sort of not doing what he said, because the more I delayed his plans, the more chance I had of someone driving past and calling the cops. But then, he said something that made it so I had to do what he said, like I couldn't physically stop myself. He said, "Open your eyes, or I'll make sure they never find you. I'll make sure he thinks you just left." I knew he was referring to my boyfriend, that he was preying on my own true weakness to get me to do what he said. I knew I should have kept on disobeying him, and I know that now more than ever. But at the time, in that moment, I couldn't stop myself. It was like that gun pointed at me was sort of like a magic wand or something, and my body overrode my brain. I opened my eyes, and the way he was smiling when I did, it was almost like it was burned into my brain. It was that face I had nightmares about for literally years afterwards, waking up in a cold sweat after seeing his teeth all jagged and messed up in my mind. I don't think they were actually all that messed up, it was just the way my brain kind of replays the image to match how terrified I was. But then, as I opened them, he said, "Look at me." And I did. He kind of pointed back towards his van and told me, "Now, smile for the camera." I looked, only for a second, but I didn't see anything. I guess it was too dark, or whatever he was recording us with didn't have a telltale red recording light on it. And in fact, I don't even...
Ooh, wait a minute. Don't tell me this guy's got like a I mean, it's still pretty messed up, but like... Let me guess, he's got like a camera in the van, and the camera's recording the entire thing, and he's an artist, so he's trying to get like the rawest reaction from a civilian with the most... I think he's doing that, right?
know if he really was making a video, or if what he was saying was just another way of messing with me. I guess he enjoyed my reaction though, because he started laughing again, harder than ever. But then even though he was laughing, I still felt sick with fear. I felt this weird relief as he lowered the gun and stopped pointing it at me. I don't fully remember the stuff that he said afterwards. It was all about how dumb I was or looked, how I was pathetic and a crybaby, all the stuff like that, and he said disgusting stuff about the things that he was going to do while watching the footage back, stuff that still sticks out more than the others, but
he's gonna goon over the footage
for obvious reasons. I could barely move. I could barely speak.
This man's gonna...
But I still managed one last, "Please don't kill me." And he gave me some speech about how it was better for him to leave me alive so I could spend the rest of my life living with the trauma of what had happened. He didn't say those exact words. It was way...
he's a villain. I mean... he is making some facts right there, right? If he wanted to conflict that, it's better for her to live with the trauma than just to end her right there and then.
More protracted and drawn out, but that's essentially what he was getting at. Killing me would be more trouble than it's worth.
Yep.
Leaving me with the memories, with all the pain and the nightmares, that was far more satisfying for him. And so that's what he did.
Yep.
He climbed back into his van and drove off again, but not without giving me a parting gift, one that'd make sure that I couldn't do anything immediately. He said he was going to make sure I couldn't go anywhere, which had me wailing because I thought, this is it. He's actually going to end me. But then instead of just shooting me, he ran up to me and hit me with the gun he was holding. And the hit broke my orbital socket, which explains why it was so painful. And I guess he was trying to knock me out, but it didn't work. I fell backwards, feeling the worst pain in my life throbbing through my head. It didn't knock me out, at least I don't think it did, but I knew better.
Orbital socket. The fuck is that? Your eyeball.
Than to get up, run, or even move at all. I knew he wanted to knock me out so he could drive off without me running for help. And so to me, the best thing I could do was play possum.
Yep.
And pretend that I was out cold from him hitting me.
Yep.
I remember quite literally begging God to make it a convincing act, to have him believe that I was out cold and I was going nowhere for at least a while. And the reason I still pray today is because it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him laugh one last time, and then footsteps on the pavement, and after that there was a sound of a car door slamming, an engine starting, and the guy who called himself Clay took off into the night. I won't go into all the details of how I was rescued because it's mostly me walking along the side of the highway covered in blood, crying and shivering from the cold and the adrenaline dump until I saw headlights coming towards me. I was terrified.
Hey, if you're driving along the night road and you see a bloody woman crying and stuff, I'd just keep driving by. No, that's like another horror story ready to happen. I'm just saying, like, a bloodied up woman on the middle of nowhere street walking down wailing for help. I've seen too many stories and too many horror things to be like, hey, let's pull over and help that woman. Totally not a trap or anything, or totally not like a demon or something. You know what I mean? It's like,
First, thinking it might have been Clay coming back to finish me off. But then, when I saw it was an actual Good Samaritan, I burst into tears again out of sheer relief before I climbed into their passenger seat and they called the police for me.
That's still risky. Imagine that Good Samaritan. Imagine he's just made another bad one and I just took you home and just kidnapped you and stuff.
Gary, who will forever be my hero, waited with me at the gas station that we found while waiting for the cops and the EMTs to show up. And then it was a case of explaining what had happened, passing on as much detail as possible in the hopes that they might be able to find the guy. And after that, I was taken to the hospital for treatment, which is how I found out something was broken in my skull. And it was there that I waited for my boyfriend to show up, which he did, limping into the ward with a friend of his who had given him a ride at a moment's notice. And that was the icing on the cake, knowing the extent that he'd go to in order to look out for me. And within 18 months, we were engaged to be married, and then we tied the knot around 8 months afterwards once we had the money and the venue we wanted. It made up for the fact that Clay was never found, and I needed something to make up for it because for a long time I used to beat myself up for not being able to recall his license plate number. The doctor said it was most likely a result of the concussion, and that it was pretty normal for people not to be able to remember little details about an event that they sustained a head injury in. But that didn't seem to sink in for me for a long time, and I used to cry sometimes, wondering why I was so dumb that I couldn't even remember the first letter of a number.
As much as you could blame herself, prevention's always the best thing. So, don't be a woman driving alone at night, and don't trust anyone until they really are good, Again, it could have gone a lot worse. Obviously, Clay, the man with the gun, he's not like cold-blooded. He's a bit interesting, I would say. He knows what he wants. He got what he wanted, He's not dumb, but he's like, yeah, you know what I mean? He had like a plan, he's like, who's gonna miss you? I'm an artist. Perfect reactions all across the board. Only thing that was a bit interesting was that he tried to knock her out. Nah. Yeah, I mean, it just depends, right?
Just that dumb purple cactus that is on all the generic Arizona plates. I'm over it now for the most part. There's just one thing that still bothers me to think about on the rare occasion that it pops into my mind, and that's the fact that out there, somewhere, there's maybe a video of me on my knees, crying and begging for my life while some sick freak gets off on my fear. If that's true, and Clay's never been caught or punished for what he did to me, or has done to God knows how many others, then he might well watch it back sometimes, reliving those sick thrills that he felt the night he mentally tortured me on the side of a dark highway.
There are a lot more crazier stuff than that, just saying. Like, I'm not sure if they're true or not, right? We don't even know if the story's true, but there are, like, stories where there's a lot more fucking crazy things out there, right? Especially in video games. In video games, the serial killer is, like, way more crazy. Like, they literally will kidnap humans and, like, do a crazy bunch of weird stuff. Have you seen those, like, horror games? Those horror games where the, like, crazy person or, they like will literally like butcher people and like do all this crazy stuff. Have you seen those video games? Those video games are like serial killers. Some of them are apparently based on a true story, but like there are actually like serial killers that like will do that kind of stuff, right? It is at the end of the day, it is what it is. If someone wanted to get you, they get you. If you're not allowed to die, then you're not allowed to die, and you're pretty chill on that. It is what it is. There's a lot of anomalies out there that are a bit crazy, and it is what it is, right? Obviously, the best way to prevent this story is don't drive alone as a woman. But at the same time, this literally can happen to anyone, just saying. Because, like, just depends on the context, right? Because even if you're a male driving alone at night, if another truck came in with, like, a man, pit maneuvered you, and made you go onto the side of the road, right? GG, right? Actually, the only one way, which I'm also thinking about investing in, maybe, if I really wanted to. Well, I already have one, but I could get another one, right? There's one possible way to really survive these scenarios, but it won't guarantee your survival, but it'll guarantee something. One of the best things you can do, this is not a sponsor or anything, but just based. Okay, again, it depends on your scenario of the country and all that stuff, and like your tech and like just overall. But let's say it's 2026, right? 2026. Actually, it's kind of hard to do 2026. Oh no, it's not. Kind of depends, but one of the best things you can do for 2026 is invest in an Apple Watch. Apple Watches get a decent amount of hate because it's like, oh, spying on you, right? But if you really think about it in the terms of logistics, the Matrix and the Truman Show vibe already knows where you're at. So there's already tyranny and everything, right? So the best thing to do is to stay away from the other brokies. So therefore, you use aid with that. So to protect yourself from the brokies, which are probably more dangerous than, because if the government wanted to get you, they'll get you. But the brokies, you have a slight chance of somewhat helping yourself, right? So one of the best investments for a woman would probably be an Apple Watch, mainly because of the feature that you can subtly like hold your Apple Watch buttons and it will signal SOS emergencies. Like you don't have to take your phone out or anything, right? But apparently you could also do it with your phone anyways. Like with your phone, if it's in your pocket and you just hold the two buttons, you'll just get the emergency SOS like that, and you hold it long enough and it'll activate it. And you don't even need to say anything, you just activate it. So same thing for the watch, you just hold it down and it'll turn on and SOS, right? But again, that doesn't guarantee your safety 100%. If someone wanted to get, they get you. Is there anything else to say? I'd say the story is decent, but I mean, it's kind of it is what it is scenario, right? Honestly, it really is. A lot of things can happen. A lot of worse things can happen too. Some people don't even get a chance. This Clay guy's a bit different, right? But in other scenarios, they'll just get you, right? Hmm. Again, we don't even know if this story is real or not either. We don't know. It is what it is. Is there anything else to learn about besides perhaps this scenario? The only way to survive is pretty much you're not allowed to die anyways, so you're fine. Just be a bit you gotta be crazy back to them. Scenario? He's crazy? You're crazy too. Shoot me. I'm not allowed to die. Well, what do you mean? If I shoot, you're gonna no, it doesn't work for me. My reality, right? Shoot a bullet, it's just gonna go into me. I'll push it out of my chi, and you're dead. I'll get vengeance on you. Good luck. It is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it. Apple Watch. Be a bit crazier. You're not allowed to die in your reality. Someone points a gun at you, just say you're not allowed to die. Shoot me. I'm not allowed to die. Like, I'm literally not allowed to die. Like, you cannot. In my reality, I'm literally not allowed to die. So, like, you literally cannot kill me. I'm gonna get vengeance on you. But I guess in his reality, I'll be dead. But in my reality, I won't be. You know what I mean? So, that's that. Yeah, just that's about it, right? Stories could always get a bit worse. I don't usually share things like this, but I lost my dog, who was my best friend so much today. Been listening to. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Clay stories sound like is the things like that happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it. All right. I know today's Earth vlog wasn't the best. Why don't we go do a little bit of browsing on YouTube real quick? Because I was pretty nice yesterday. Murder 14 friends. Coachella. What's he doing? The last time Earth was iceless. The dark side of Japan. Depends on the ecosystem. Boba tea trends.
Ranking the best body tea trend.
Is there anything else interesting? I thought it said boba tea. I was like, what's boba tea? Not t-shirt, whatever. The twisted case, murder. Okay, now we just went into the dark side of the crazy things that has happened. Mariana Trench. I wonder what this place. I really want to. Maybe one day in the future I'll have a little scouting mission in the Mariana Trench. That'd be kind of cool, right? Light the whole place up. The Yellow House, inspired by the Real House of This that inspired goth girls. Am I right? The most terrifying cartipids that could be real. Only if you believe in them, my friend. They're not real if you believe in them. Watches, what did I just watch? He's still alive. 5 cold cases that with insane twists. I spent 22 years as a forensic scientist. It broke me. Yeah, buddy, if you were actually... Okay, whatever. Family trip horror stories. Hold on now. Don't give me an ad. I might save this for next time then. I'll save it for next time. It looks kind of interesting though. We'll save it for next time then, right? That one looks kind of cool. Save for next time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it, right? I'll see you guys next time, right? Bye-bye.